All right, everybody, I think we're back. And I apologize again. I tell you, we've had a lot of trouble with this internet, and I'm migrating to a new service tomorrow. But I'll have one more show. We're going to have to limp through Update Friday tomorrow, and then hopefully we'll just be streaming big time. Renee's on the phone, but I just wanted to touch base, make sure that you finished hearing it. I don't know when it stops streaming. I apologize. I can't tell. It doesn't say on the computer. So be sure to listen to the Lawless America link. I'll put it in the comments. Finish it up. We stopped when basically he said we need to have a revolution. America is now lawless, and this is the point. Our powers that be, like O'Brien said in the recorder's office, anybody else doing this, they'd be in prison. But the banks are just utterly getting away with it and will continue to do so. And he didn't have any real solutions on how to stop it. Everyone's trying to figure out, how do you stop this monster that's just been put in auto mode and is not following the laws, and the courts are completely seemingly on the side of the banks. And so I'm invited Renee to join us today because she's got some new information, and every little bit that we can collect as owners and use in our fight back is going to help stop the machine. I have this vision that the people were on our hands and knees with little hammers, and we're hammering on the toes of the banks. We're hammering at the feet. This is the foundation. Without these fraudulent documents and these lying statements of title and false notarizations, they couldn't take the houses. This is the building block. So we're at the very foundation level. Others are trying to target the head and doing other stuff, but we have to just keep hammering at the feet, because everybody knows that if you cut off the feet, it's pretty hard to walk. So Renee, thank you for joining us. Tell us what you've been discovering. Share with us.
Good morning, CJ. Hi,
thank you
so much for inviting me back on today. Unexpected, so this is a little more fly by the seat of my pants, but what's new?
Welcome to my show.
First of all, Bill Windsor is in D.C. right now, for those who don't know. Amazing things going on. They've taken delegates with them. They called them delegates, and a couple hundred people, if not more. I know they had thousands that were showing up, but were supposed to show up. But none of the legislators or news agencies or journalists, there was only 2 or 3 that actually had even done a story as yet yesterday, had even shown up. So
wow.
That tells you, when you have something like this that has such major implications of proof, that the legislators, the journalists, no one showed up. If you watch the feed from Bill and all his interviews, sitting in their room in between all the going into Congress, etc., very, very heart-wrenching to know that our nation of legislators are just leaving us at all levels. So thank you for sharing, Bill, but I really encourage everybody to go to Bill's page, Lawless America, and click on to those links and listen to some of the footage. It's heart-wrenching. Anyhow.
Well, and Renee, I just want to interject here, because I know that you've been really focusing on the human aspect and the human story, and I apologize. I mean, I get so many emails that I can't even really respond, and it's just as heart-wrenching. Help me, help me, help me. And the fact,
and as you know, this week I myself was put through the ringer, and I'm not going to go into it, but I want all of you out there to know you need to protect yourself, and if anyone comes across those miles through email or anything else, you need to report those threats to the police. The only ones who would be threatening us are those who are not for us.
Right.
And we're getting a lot of headway, because the threats that came at me this week tell me that we're doing it right. We're on the right track.
Share some of that with us. I think you were trying to tell me that early this morning, and I said, no, wait,
well,
share it on the show.
I'm not going to go into who it was or anything like that. That's not what this is about. What this is about is I was threatened with defamation of character, ruining my life, and more. And it was vicious. It was scary. And had I have not known a firm that was being implicated in the claims, I would have been destroyed. And this is how easy it is for them to do it to you. It's all just he said, she said, and back and forth, no proof, very passive-aggressive. They get bullies, real bullies and threatening. Well, I can tell you what, CJ, I've been through people taking advantage of the law.
Oh,
I'm going to tell you right now, I will not allow my family or my person to be threatened without taking it very seriously. So none of you out there should either, and I think that's very important. But what we do know is we are being threatened, each and every one of us, every second of every day as a homeowner right now. We are being viciously threatened. Excuse me, I've been on the phone so much. And what we found out this week is a couple more things. First of all, I want to expand on the documentation. We've been talking about getting it out of record.
Yes.
It's come to my attention that there's some people out there trying to say that we're telling people to put things into record. You all know that's false. You all know we are not saying that at all. We do not put things into record just to do it. We want things out of record.
Right.
We want the forgeries and all of the questionable documents out of record. This is all done through emotion, not litigation. Again, people are trying to scare people into thinking they shouldn't do this because it's going to cost a lot of money and it's going to be a lot of heartache. No, it's emotion. Big difference. So clarity, folks. Let's make sure people know this, okay? Freddie and Fannie, we all know through news, through government agencies, we all know that at least, okay, I'm going to give you two scenarios. One is 100% of our mortgages, purported mortgages that are investments, not mortgages, we do not have one mortgage in this country, are owned by the feds.
Right.
Second is 75% is what I'm told. So there's the only variance is we have a 75% and 100% here. So that's just, there is no doubt they're mostly owned, the majority of them. So what I've sent CJ, and some of you have already gotten this from me, but I'm telling you, I'm fighting mad right now because we are not being foreclosed on by any of those within the documents that are claiming ownership. And I sent CJ a couple of links. I've got a letter from, let me get it up here, from a Professor Newman, who I want CJ to put it on the link. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm going to, do a summation of it, and then you folks can all go and educate yourself, which is real important too.
And Renee, I'm going to interject here. I'm showing the letter now on the screen, and I will upload this to the website and link it. And I also this weekend have planned to sort of reorganize the web my web page layout because
Wonderful.
The fact is we have so much information and I'm starting to see, oh well that stuff should be on this page, so I'm going to try to really organize this and put this along with the foreclosure defense, because this is the title, in case you can't read it, and I apologize, we're streaming it just normal resolution because I'm just limping along, as you can tell, on live stream and the internet. But it says, "Welcome to Fannie and Freddie's Mortgage Shell Game." Go ahead, Renee.
Okay. And basically, this is laying out a letter from Sean Timothy Newman, and he's an adjunct professor at St. Martin's University. And it basically is saying that in common parlance, a mortgage, a deed of trust, includes the underlying loan, promissory note, and the security on that loan, mortgage of deed of trust. And as we're preaching to the choir, we all know that theoretically and legally, these two should not be separate or sent anywhere separately. They go together to create the obligation.
Exactly.
Well, what was interesting is this whole article that he wrote basically, again, summarizes what we know about that transfer. Okay? I'm going down to the second page here. Every day, Freddie and Fannie provide a continuous flow of funds to mortgage lenders. And they do so, and it says, we do so not by making individual mortgage loans, but to consumers. Instead, we support the U.S. mortgage market by providing money directly to lenders. Now, we also know that Freddie buys residential mortgages and mortgage-backed securities and guarantees them. Now, the interesting part is when you go through this and you figure that says, where am I at here? Again, okay, the policy, here we go, I think it's page 3, CJ.
Okay.
This brings to me an issue raised by
Right.
Professor Dale Whitman in his article, How Negotiability Has Fouled Up the Secondary Mortgage Market and What to Do About It. And the professor states that while delivery of the note might seem a simple matter of compliance, experience during the past several years has shown that probably in countless thousands of cases, promissory notes were never delivered to secondary market investors or securitizers, and in many cases cannot presently be located at all.
Right.
The issue is extremely widespread and in many cases appears to have been the result of a conscious policy on the part of mortgage sellers to retain rather than transfer the notes representing the loans they were selling. Now this is where it gets interesting. And then we'll go into another letter I just received, CJ, that'll back this up. This policy creates fundamental problems with any foreclosure. This policy is embedded in Fannie and Freddie's servicing guidelines. Under their servicing guidelines, the servicing bank may never be identified as the owner of the loan.
Oh my God. And Renee, I just want to point out here to everybody listening, and just as a reminder, because, you know, we're putting the pieces of the puzzle together. So this needs to be included, but the consent judgments that the banks agreed to last year was that all foreclosures would be done with competent and reliable evidence. And here they can never be identified as the owner of the loan, except every one of these assignments identifies either a bank or a trustee of the mortgage-backed security as the owner of the loan, as the beneficiary.
Right. And the way we fix that, because everybody says, well, great, we know that, but what do you do about it? Well, you go to Fannie and Freddie lookup.
Right.
And if you have a screenshot of Fannie and Freddie lookup that says they own it, I would think that most of us can common sense note that that negates anything, and that would tend to make discovery possibly a little easier to get to, which we know discovery is not easy to get to. They get us knocked out of the courts before we can get to discovery. So my contention is in these articles, and right in the words, right smacking a smack dab in the face that you can get right off of their own booklet.
Right.
I've sent the link to CJ for. It clearly states that. Now I'm going to read another a response because I sent this article to another. I haven't heard back from him, so I can't use his name. But he's an attorney in Florida, very well known, has done amazing things. And if I said his name, you would know who he was. But anyhow, his answer to this, and I'm going to read it because this is paramount in understanding how to proceed, which we're all keep asking, how do I do it?
Right.
Dear Professor Newman, I read your article. I applaud your article for showing that more than 3 out of 4 foreclosures today are being conducted under the authority of the United States. This is the result of quantitative easing and other measures of the Fed, which led to the acquisition of toxic mortgages by the Maiden Lane Corporation, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. The 2 GSEs are now under the supervision and control of FHFA, the federal agency.
That's right.
As a result, more than 3 out of 4 homes being taken through foreclosure are being taken by the federal government.
That's right.
Very key here, and I'm going to go on. We've already talked about the drones and everything else. Well, who's doing that?
Exactly.
You also currently noted that both Freddie and Fannie, each of their guidelines, require servicers to foreclose as Fannie and Freddie. They cannot say they own it. They have to foreclose as the servicer, correct? They cannot foreclose as the owner, okay? So they do not have the right to do this. But what he also says is the servicer, one could make an argument. What it overlooks is that masquerading as the owner of the loan perpetuates a fraud upon the court and upon the debtor. Imposter foreclosures, now you know, CJ, you've had those up, and there's some other links. We're talking, this has been hitting hard now, okay? So we know this is taking on and taking the train and the bull by the horns here. We're in control. On the offense, we're carrying the ball.
Right.
Imposter foreclosures, whether in judicial jurisdiction, whether the plaintiff masquerades as the owner of the loan, or a non-judicial foreclosure where the imposter falsely identifies as the beneficiary, is illegal and constitutes wrongful foreclosure. The imposter foreclosure is illegal, and I'm going to lay out 7 reasons that this attorney gave. And this is an attorney. This is his words.
And I love the term imposter foreclosure.
And then, yes,
That's,
imposter foreclosure. They're all imposters. And the reason we aren't getting to show the imposter because no one gets past discovery. Well, if you go into this with the screenshot of Fannie and Freddie saying they own it, how in the heck can somebody else refute that? They can't. Well, they can try, and they can lie. But once you get to the true meat of the potatoes, and you have Fannie and Freddie's own words within their procedure guidelines that says they can't represent themselves as the owner. I mean, you can't speak out. Well, they do speak out of both sides of their mouth, but the truth is there.
Exactly.
We found in everything else. The truth is right out there in front of our face. Defendant is being deprived of meritorious defenses against the holder, which do not apply to the imposter, which in this case falsely claims to be the holder of a portfolio loan and which would bar foreclosure by the actual holder.
Right.
Number two, by ordering an imposter foreclosure, by ordering meaning granting it,
right,
court aids and abets in the ongoing scheme to defraud innocent third parties consisting of investors and MBSTs, creditors, hedge counterparties, depositories, and regulators, state and federal. By enforcing an imposter foreclosure, the court becomes a party to tortious inference in a contract by the imposter. Exactly what we've been saying. If the court is allowing it, go after liability insurance. Go after the liability insurance. They cannot be allowing this because the alleged note holder is an imposter. Foreclosure wrongfully precludes defendant from obtaining a HAMP loan modification and denies defendant the actual opportunity to apply for a HAMP loan modification as required by federal regulations. So the feds are contradicting their own self. They know it.
Of course. Yeah,
because the alleged note holder is an imposter, the imposter foreclosure leaves the defendant exposed to continuing liability for collection of the debt by the actual note holder.
Right.
The imposter foreclosure wrongfully deprives the defendant of occupancy and useful enjoyment of defendant's property without due process of law. And it continues on, and it says imposter in a judicial is a theft of real property by an imposter through judicial. Imposter foreclosure through a non-judicial is a theft of real property from the actual beneficiary of the deed of trust and a violation of the fiduciary obligation. These go on, and once I get his permission, I'm going to have you put this response to the other letter up.
Oh,
so
perfect.
I just want you to all understand here that when you have someone out there who's questioning who owns their note, well, we know no one really owns it that is foreclosing. In the United States, I have not had one person yet, and if any of you know someone who has Fannie and Freddie earmarked as the owner of their purported mortgage from their QWR, I would love to see it. Because I can guarantee you, throughout the United States, I have not seen one sent to me yet.
Exactly. And I'm thinking of all of the assignments because it's an assignment that would assign it to Fannie or Freddie, and I've never seen one that actually assigns it to Fannie or Freddie prior to the trustee's deed on sale. So someone else...
and now if you go to the booklet I sent you on a link, CJ, about the booklet of Fannie and Freddie procedures.
Yeah, the servicing.
This one is, chapter 4, mortgage loan files and records. When you read this, and if you are not reading these things that we're talking about, you cannot be educated on what we're talking about because you have to read it, see it, feel it, own it. So get your eyes on these documents because they're public records.
How do you find chapter 4?
It very clearly states, it starts out why it talks about electronic documents are now recognized as legal and that they can, all the records can be brought in through transmission of e-records, correct? Well, the interesting thing I found in all of this is that they have to, the servicer, and it says right here, the accounting records related to mortgage loans serviced for Fannie Mae must be maintained in accordance with sound and general accepted accounting principles and in such a manner as will permit Fannie Mae's representatives to examine and audit such records at any time. Okay, now how many of us know most of these records, especially countrywide, Bank of America, are non-existent?
Well, exactly.
That they're owning, they've bought these loans. State and federal law now recognizes electronic records as being equivalent to paper for legal purposes. Therefore, Fannie Mae requirements for record accessibility and retention apply equally to paper and electronic records. But, and it's saying that the servicer is responsible for implementing appropriate measures designed to ensure the accuracy, security, integrity, and
Right.
and any other owner of a participation interest in the mortgage loan. This isn't saying the servicer or any other person that you're seeing on that document saying who's foreclosing. You're not seeing Fannie Mae.
And Renee,
every single piece of paper that they should be holding.
Renee.
Let me finish.
Oh, okay, go ahead. I wanted to just interject something. Go ahead.
The last of this, so then we can have communication on what I just said. But
Okay.
Section 402 of the electronic record, this is what kicked it in. And Randy knows me. He and I think alike when it comes to reading the words and the little stuff. So even though they said they recognize all these as legal documents in the e-virtual world,
Right.
electronic record. An electronic record is a contract and other record that is created, generated, sent, communicated, received, or stored by electronic means. A record is information that is inscribed on a tangible medium or that is stored in an electronic or other medium and is retrievable in perceivable form, meaning that you could get it back.
Right.
All records in the individual mortgage loan file may be retained as electronic records, drum roll, except for the promissory note and any records that modify or supplement the promissory note, in which case the original ink-signed record of such instruments should be stored in the mortgage loan file. They themselves are saying that they will not recognize the e-file as tangible, that they have to, because it says except. All records in the individual mortgage loan file may be retained as electronic records. Randy, here's the drum roll words. Except
Exactly.
for the promissory note and any records that modify or supplement the promissory note.
Right.
Which would be right or
And here we go back again between the tangible and the intangible. And so
they themselves right here say that it has to be tangible. So this is why I thank you for bringing me on today and any other discussion about this, because these are the key points.
Right.
Simplify. If Freddie and Fannie say they own your loan on lookup, they have to be on the document to take your home. If in fact there is no document that has a wet signature that pertains to the promissory note, they have no obligation because they themselves say it is not real.
Correct. Correct. See, let's summarize that. I know you will, Renee, and we'll be able to condense and make this concise, because the whole point is, how can we fight back? How can we keep our homes? And I also wanted to bring up one more thing, because I know it's a lot of information and we're going to have to do some more editing and getting it uploaded to the website so that people can read it and think about it and ask questions and get it under their belts. But I wanted to point out that this is one of the huge dilemmas that everybody faces, because now we're talking about HAMP loans and people of loan modification, and people want these loan modifications. The trouble is, here's the big trouble. And I face this with everybody that contacts me about a HAMP loan mod. I've got one up on the screen. I've got it linked to the website. And if you look down how this actually works, and I'm not even going to go into the fact that what they did on this particular HAMP loan was split the principal into a deferred principal, which is due at the end of...
Which aren't supposed to even be legal.
Yeah.
Deferred balloons, if you go into Fannie and Franny, you can't do deferred balloons.
Well, they do this all the time. So here they have a deferred principal balance of, I think in this case it's like $65,000, that after this poor lady pays way over market for 40 years, pays that off, then if and whenever she wants to sell it, she has to owe this other $65,000 on top of that. It's just outrageous. And if Renee says it's not even legal, and she signed this, she didn't contact me until after a year or so that she'd sign it. And then she says to me things like, did I do the right thing? I mean, everybody is so scared and frantic to save the house, they will sign almost anything to keep it. But then as they learn more about it, they wonder, wait a minute, how else have I been conned? That is the point. And I've got up here...
Also called extortion. This is extortion.
This
when
is
someone
absolutely
creates an atmosphere of you being threatened with the loss of your home unless you sign a document,
right.
That is extortion.
Exactly.
It's exactly what these documents are and will be proven to be.
And here's another level of extortion. And this is, I mentioned this before and I've mentioned it. I want to show you exactly where it is because it's still, this example for hemp is, oh, I got it last year. It's over a year old. And she signed it a year before. And someone else is talking to me about getting a hemp loan mod. And it's the same letter number. So letter number L is Mortgage Electronic Registration Systems, Inc., MERS, is a separate corporation organized and existing under the laws of Delaware and has an address, blah, blah. In cases where the loan has been registered with MERS, who has only legal title to the interest granted by the borrower in the mortgage and who is acting, here we go again, solely as nominee for the servicer and server's successors and assigns, MERS has the right to exercise any or all of those interests, including but not limited to the right to foreclose and sell the property and to take any action required of...
Documents are illegal on their face.
I know. And this is the dilemma.
Well, this is not a dilemma. This is purposeful tactics.
No.
If you think in common sense, as we've tried to, they are devious.
Well,
what they're doing here is they know there's lawsuits all across this nation by attorney generals.
Right.
Discredit MERS. So what they're doing is they're adding more credibility. This is the government.
I know.
More credibility to MERS so that they can say, oh, no, big boys, we're the ones that have already said in our documents.
And the borrower has agreed.
I'm using the F word. I'm using the F word because the attorney generals have used the F word.
Exactly. But the dilemma I'm talking about is that the owners, the borrowers, the people wanting to keep the house under their threat of extortion, of losing the house if you don't sign this, are being forced to again sign and authorize, if you will, which is completely absurd, that the borrower could authorize or agree in any way, shape, or form to MERS having specific rights. Because if
what
that's...
What people need to do, may I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Everybody wants to know, what can we do?
Yes.
Thinking off the top of my head, problem solving. Somebody brings you a document, CJ, to your home. Think back in the days of the thugs, mafia.
Right.
Crimes being committed against homeowners or business owners. They come to the business and say, here, we got this document. We want you to sign this document. And if you don't, we're going to break your arms, we're going to kill your kids, and we're going to take it out. Okay, guess what? You take that. We know in the olden days, people were afraid to even go to the police then because they were owned by the mafia.
Right.
It's exactly what's happening today. But people cannot sign something that is putting them at risk for violating the laws and basic civil procedure. So what they need to do with these documents before they even attempt to sign them is take them to the police department, the sheriff's department, and say, look what they're trying to do to me.
Well, and see, I sort of agree. The first thing, what I recommended is that they immediately file a complaint with the OCC specifically about this. This is not legal. And the facts are these. The DA is going to say, yeah, but the judges are allowing MERS in California. They're happy with MERS. It's okay in California. And so this is the dilemma the owners face. Do they sign this to get a loan mod?
You counteract that with, it doesn't matter what the state of California says they will allow. MERS itself, as a corporation, says they will not allow it. So if you take that document in and you say, I have no clue what to do here, I feel I'm being extorted to sign something I don't understand, and here's the book for MERS, here's the president of the company himself saying they can't do this, and now we've got the government sending me documents telling me if I don't do it this way, I can benefit losing my home. These are real, true patterns, and that's
I understand.
The authorities need to see. Oh, and I do want to remind of one other thing Randy and I did uncover, and this is important to share, CJ, with all of this, is, each county, the residential mortgage task force the DA's department has?
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, well, when Randy and I were doing our research, the first thing that jumped out at me at the very end of the recorder's office procedures was that we have this money set aside for the DA's offices to have a residential mortgage task force. We all heard about that. But in that, there was also a breakdown for monies to be allocated to the authorities, the police forces, the sheriff's department, to investigate mortgage fraud. So we have a few of the mortgage fraud task force at the police departments and sheriff's departments. But the third kicker, and what really threw Randy and I in a tither and said, holy moly, was there's money that's supposed to be allocated to the county recorder's office for investigating.
For an audit. For audits. Yesterday, it came up in the meeting in Mendocino County because these activists there have really gone to the recorder's office for a year, and they were blown off because they wanted the recorder to do an audit. And she said it's $18,000 and there's no money in the budget. And so that came up yesterday in the discussion, and the supervisors are thinking, okay, we have a $250 million budget. I think we could probably scrounge $18,000.
No, not only can they allocate it within the system already, that money is there. It doesn't have to be allocated. It's already allocated in the California. And Randy can be more eloquent to this because it just burns my hide.
Me too.
The procedure, it states residential mortgage task force to be set up within the DA's office, offshoot of funds to be available to the police authorities, and that the county recorder's offices have monies available to investigate these very things. So when they're telling us they don't have the money, they can't get the money, they may not have read the rules.
Right.
In the rules and in the guidelines, it gives them the ability to reach out and take money out of that fund.
Okay, Renee,
but
let's
another smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, let's commit to figuring out how we bring that to all the recorders' attention, and what that process is, so that they don't have to discover anything. We can just lay it out for them. And the other thing that I was committed to yesterday is to find companies that would agree to do the audit like they did in Williamson County on all of those
I've already
foreclosures.
Done that. I've already got companies.
Okay.
The other thing, I've been a busy person this week.
I'm sure you
We've
have.
got companies across the nation who are willing to step up and help. We have people that are talking about putting monies in to help.
Good.
What we need is everybody to continue that effort and gain the support instead of people putting money into things that we haven't had working and trying to make things work that aren't. Let's put the funds into things that are possible.
Well, and like you've already said, if these counties already have money available to them, let's go tap that money. Let's get these audits done like they did in Williamson County. And in the process, let's keep doing our notarization complaints and giving them to the recorder and the DA, proving the false notarizations, proving the false signatures, because that turns out has a lot more clout than we'd imagined. You know, O'Brien is telling.
We stand on a little bit of our ideas.
Absolutely, and then okay. So Renee, you're going to connect with us with the auditors, because I want to connect those with the recorders, and the supervisors. I swear, this is going to work.
Recorder's office in the nation being sent to me.
I already have it. I already have a list. I already have all the links. I already have all the emails to the recorders' offices. And
what we've got in motion is an event that we're planning, and I'm hoping that we can take this nationally. But at least in California, CJ and I are going to be working hand in hand on this. Randy's going to be involved. Oh, we lost audio. Audio.
Oh, sorry. How do we lose audio?
Anyhow, CJ and I are going to be involved in this, and we're going to have a statewide event where all of the county recorder offices will be invited to participate in a bridge building activity or event to bring all of this awareness, so that we know that the information has been given directly to every county in at least California, and that all of them will have the opportunity to participate in a bridging event, something to bring us all together. Because we know most of these people working in these offices have no idea what the actual procedures are. When I call and I get their laws, and we know there aren't, that's all procedure. You know, so this is something we're planning. It's going to be an event. It's going to be well played and well done, and information that we're gathering will be made available. And as CJ knows, whether they know it or not, like anything else, we're going to make sure they have it again, so that we have no misunderstanding that somebody has no clue what's and that they have no clue what monies are there for them to use.
Right.
Because we have to remember, many of these county recorders are elected officials.
Most of them are.
And they've done all.
That's right.
Most of them are. So this is normal people going into these positions. Who knows what their true experience and capacity is for understanding procedures?
Right.
We have to make sure that everybody gets it. And this is going to be a wonderful event. We're shooting for April. Anybody who wants to participate, please contact us, because we are getting participants involved we need about 40 people involved is what I'm understanding from what it looks like we're going to be doing. And these are all volunteers to help us with the day and with the event. So we are, I want you all to know, I keep hearing, what can we do, what can we do?
Yeah.
We are all about action.
Absolutely.
I'm telling you that creating action, and it is being created clear across this nation right now.
And I want to add, it's not just action, but it's effective action. Effective, because we don't have unlimited resources. We have just ourselves and the time we've got, and the facts are these. If we can focus on where we can actually get the best results for the people, to save the country and to stop the foreclosure machine, that's what we're all about. Thanks, Renee. We're going to have to go. I'm signing off.
Jay?
Randy's on yesterday, wants to be in the conference. Okay, people are signing up already. That's fabulous. And we'll talk more about that tomorrow, Update Friday. Thanks, guys. This is CJ Holmes, your host for Homeowners for Justice, weekdays live. We're signing off, and we'll see you tomorrow.